Welcome back to Witch Hunt, guys. Today on the trial of Bree, we will be discussing traditional witchcraft and common misconceptions. Bree, I'm so glad to get to see you today and sit down with you. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Bree and I are connected. Actually, Bree runs a witchcraft group on Facebook, which is called the Oracle Witch Society. And so that's kind of how we first got connected. And so yeah, it's just really good to see you.
It's good to see you. It's good to be able to sit down and have this one-on-one conversation.
Yes, because you're in Florida, right?
Yes, I'm in Florida.
How's your weather?
It's hot.
We have snow. We have so much snow right now. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy.
We're definitely polar opposites, but when I first got to know you through the Oracle, there was just something about you that I connected with. And this is the first time that we've actually spoken and like face to face. And it's like, we should have this conversation a while back, but
I know. Yeah.
I do very much feel connected to you.
Yeah. I think it's really, well, with social media, it's so amazing how you can be connected with people around the world, but then also people's energies really do. I mean, you can tell where you connect and where you fit and where, is a safe space, that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely, so Bree, just so you guys know, she also has like a witchy shop that she runs with her daughters, who I am also connected with. And so I just always feel like when I see you guys doing stuff online, I'm like, oh, there's the other part of my family. They're out today for dinner.
I mean, witches are creators and hoarders. It is what it is,
So Bree, so I know because we're friends, but what labels, if any, do you subscribe? Do you call yourself like a witch or a mystic, or do you not have any labels? What do you go by?
I'm a practicing traditional witch, Norse pagan. I definitely subscribe to the old ways of healing and dealing with life. I think I've been magical my whole life, but I was actually late into witchcraft. Oddly, even though there are 7 practicing adult witches in my immediate family, 14 if you want to name the children. But yeah, I've always been a witch. And I've actually only been like out practicing out because I've been solitary for 20 something years, but I've only been out putting my practice out there for the last 3 years. It's been an interesting journey, as much as I love social media, there are pitfalls with social media. And this is where I believe a lot of misconceptions in witchcraft is brewed up.
Okay. Well, so you have the group, so you have, and there's like a couple thousand people in your group. Do you see a lot? What kind of misconceptions do you see? Is there a lot of like common misbeliefs or yeah?
Well, if there are some misconceptions that I could just wipe the slate clean, would be from new witches. And I'll tell you why. Mundane and magical life run parallel. And the first 3 years of a child's life is the most informative. Science has proved this. We know this. A child learns more in the first 3 years of their life than they do the rest. And I believe it's so in a magical life. The first 3 years, no matter what age that you start your path, those 3 years set the foundation for the rest of your craft. And if I could take away the gatekeepers and the don't do this, don't do that, I'd love to take that away, because I want new witches to have that wanderlust and that I had when I started out. When I started out, you had good housekeeping and encyclopedias. That's what we had. I didn't have books. This was all pre-Google. And so we learned by practicing. And if you're new to the craft, then you're a beginner. It's okay if you make mistakes. They're going to happen.
Yeah.
And this is where some of your biggest growth comes from making mistakes.
Oh, mistakes bring wisdom. Yeah, they're
Yes.
learning material. Yep.
Yes.
For sure. And um yeah, I think I like the do try everything, because you just you
Yes.
see what sticks. I mean, yeah, definitely a variety of things. Because you may think this is for me, and you may try something else that resonates deeper, or there's just, yeah, there's so you said Norse pagan.
Norse pagan. Yes.
Okay, so tell me then what your path centers on, like, then, with that, like, what does do you doing bigger rituals? Do you have work with a coven? Would you have a certain daily ritual? Just tell me everything.
Um, okay. This is my experience and this is my thought. Um, I know that Odin and Frigg chose me. Um, and I honor them. I honor them through the Sabbaths. Um, when life is good or hard, I honor both Frigg and Odin. Like I have a tree. I have a Christmas tree. It's not decorated, but it has lights on it and it has horns, and that is Odin's tree. And I have bottles of mead around this tree. And this is how I honor Odin.
Okay.
And I honor Frigg throughout my house in my personal altar that's in my bedroom. I honor Frigg. You know, um, to me, she embodies the woman, the warrior, the mother.
Okay.
So, so yes, I do honor them, and I don't always speak to them on a daily basis. Um, I like to use the word honor over worship. You
Okay.
know, that just feels right to me. So that's what I do with Odin and Frey.
Okay. I do really like my practice is very much based on um that what we need is within, rather than looking without to worship someone else. So I really do like the word honor rather than worship. That is really,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Um so okay, so how did you work with any other gods, goddesses, deities that before you decided the Odin and Frigg, or
Okay. For years, in all honesty, no, I studied and I've learned about other gods and goddesses just because of out of curiosity. Um, but about 5 years ago, I was in a really low point in my life, and I was outside, and it was during a work day, and I just had tears running down my face, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It was just a really bad time. And I kid you not. And this is Florida. We have blackbirds, you know, and they're a lot smaller than ravens. I had two ravens land on the ground at my feet and looked at me like, what are you doing? And I just had this voice in my head that said, you're going to be okay. We're going to fight this. And I don't know why I'm telling this story. I've never told this story before. But yeah, I wanted to, yeah. So that was, I forgot the question. I don't know, that story come back to me. I don't know. I just wanted to share it.
yeah, no, thank you so much. That's really beautiful. I think that everyone goes through some type of moment like that on their path, where and maybe it's not Odin, but it's either coming to this realization or this feeling of empowerment or this connection, that especially when we go through hard times. So yeah, that's really beautiful. So then how did you come to starting a witchcraft group?
That was actually Storm, my girls. It was a way for us to connect with other witches and other pagans. And because, it's you kind of get stuck when you're in a solitary practice. You, believe it or not, your knowledge and what comes to you, unless it is coming divinely to you, is limited no matter what. And I've learned a lot from other witches. It's just a fact.
Oh, for sure.
And so it was out of wanting to connect with other people in the craft.
Yeah, and it's
That's
a
how
really
I came
great
about.
space. It's a
Yeah.
really nice space that you guys have created online. You guys, I will put the link down below to their Facebook group and then also their witchy shop as well. You guys have all different kinds of things from incense blends to, oh gosh, what else?
Oils, incense
Yes.
holders, runes, wayfinder compass. Kind of, within your practice, you're you grow. And so our shop has grown from charms and talismans to bracelets to, now we're into runes and, more of our Norse pagan, my Norse pagan side is coming out. So yeah, we're constantly evolving.
Yes. Yeah. I just actually been reading this thing that was like, you should never stop asking yourself what you want to be when you grow up because we are always growing. We are always evolving. You never stop growing. So you shouldn't ever stop checking in with yourself to see what you want and who you want to be. So I thought that
Yeah.
was really cool. Um, what else is I going to ask you?
To circle around what you were saying about growing and learning, I'm a big fan of blood magic.
Okay.
It has very much of a mystique to it. We are women. We've been bleeding our whole adult lives. It's just a part of our life. It's a part of our cycle. And I think it's a very underused in practice. I think if you bring in the common sense factor, like I don't share my blood with other people, da 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 da. But I just learned last week that you don't have to work with blood wet. You can work with it dry. I just learned that last week. If you
What do
put
you
your
mean? What do you mean?
if you put your blood on a clean glass plate, set it to the side, give it about 8 hours, it's going to harden. And you can chip it off the glass plate and you can work with your own blood dry.
Okay, so like to put into like a
You can
spell jar or
put it into one of your spell jars for protection. You can dress a candle with it because it will flake and
okay.
get powdery. Um, if you want to spruce up the magic in the bedroom, your menstrual blood is the blood to use for that. But yes, working with dry blood. And I've been practicing for over 24 years. And I just learned that trick last week. So
I would have never thought of that. Never ever. I just learned something. Like I'm still processing. Like that's huge.
yeah,
Like, oh my gosh. When people talk about blood magic, the first thing that I always think about is that you're supposed to paint like your own runes. Like you prick your finger and paint.
that's how you feed your roots. Yes.
You charge your runes with your blood. And so that's what I always think of with blood magic. But yeah, the menstrual cycle for women is extremely powerful.
Yes.
But I would have never thought about that. And even for if you don't have a menstrual cycle, you could still
Yeah.
dry the blood and use
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. Look at me like coming up with new ways to hex the patriarchy. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Like, okay, you have your standard witch's bottle, which you put sharp items in, you use your urine, and you plant it out in your yard. And so when you have psychic or magical energy attacks, it goes to that jar. Well, if you drop some of your dried blood into it, I mean, it's a barrier. They cannot get past it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So blood magic is very underused because it covers the whole spectrum of baneful and positive magic, from protection, love, money, and so forth.
Wow. That's, oh my gosh. I need a notebook. I need to not be sitting here drinking tea. I need to be taking notes because every time I sit down and talk with someone, I learn something that I would have never thought of, and that sometimes we're doing maybe or have the same intention, but we're doing it completely. Our rituals and, our tools are completely different. That's really cool. Like, that's really awesome.
Because most people put their blood on the tissue, and for some reason there's a shelf life. It'll go bad. But if you put the wet blood on a glass plate, it has the ability to coagulate and harden. So yeah. So it's always something new to learn.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. No, witchcraft is forever learning. And that's another thing, you guys, when you're, like I said, always do your own research. And just because someone has a platform doesn't mean that they need to be put on a pedestal or that they know what they're talking about, but also just using your own common sense. And oh gosh, I lost it again. What were you talking about? Yeah, I don't know what I was gonna say there.
It's okay. I do that all the time too. I do that all the time. I'm all over the place.
It's like it's the new moon, and it really affects. I'm a Cancer, and I'm a moon child. Like, a lot of my work is done with the moon, and I always feel better at night, but then it's like I'm up, I'm energized, I can't sleep until the sun starts to come up, but then I have things to do. So yeah, I'm just lagging today. So I'm sorry. My computer, aka my brain, is buffering. So I don't know where I was going with that. But so what would you tell people? And so your group, I know, offers a lot of learning resources, but I saw the other day that you had made a TikTok about like good beginner like tips or books, or like, so what resources would you offer people that are new and looking to learn?
This is a good question. Read everything you can get your hands on. Take everything with a grain of salt, whether you read it or you hear it yourself. And also listen to your spiritual side, listen to your gut, listen to your inner child, your inner self, your inner goddess, because you'll know, even though I don't like the word resonate, you'll know when something magically feels right.
You don't like the word resonate?
Yeah, I think it's overused.
Okay.
It's overused. I wish there was another word. Like, I wish there was another word, but I haven't found it yet. But yeah. The Crooked Path is one of my favorite books on traditional witchcraft. Scott Cunningham's Magical Herbs. Black Hawthorne Botanicals. Did I say that right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. That's another great herbal book. Yeah. And I believe it or not, I recommend YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, because once you have sifted through some of the silly stuff, there's some really good resources and information. Like, honestly, okay, don't get mad when I say this, but tarot is not my jam. Tarot
okay.
are not my jam.
Okay.
They're not my jam. I use other tools, but I've learned more about tarot from you than anybody else in the past 20 years.
Oh, yeah. And you guys, you don't have to read tarot to be a witch. I mean, some people do, some people don't. And that's totally okay. Some people work with crystals, some people don't, it just, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I did not know that, because Storm, I see her, she uses cards all the time. So I did not know that you were not into tarot and oracle cards.
Yeah. No, I think they're beautiful. I think I believe it's an art form.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, people give me tarot and oracle decks all the time, but I pass them along, you know? And so sometimes I wish I did, but I mean, right now, right now, my main tools is runes and throwing charms and throwing bones, you know?
And you guys, as you move along, you'll find the things that, that really help accentuate your skills, or the things, yeah. So, but you have this amazing altar. You have this, I've just drool over this huge like
My
herbs altar.
apothecary.
Yes, your apothecary. Um, so tell us about that. Tell us about the different herbs that you use, what you're using them for, what are your favorite ones?
Okay. Well, a little backstory. That apothecary is actually what they call a Southern hutch.
Okay.
Um, my dad bought it for my mom like 30 years ago. And when he passed, that hutch came to me. And at the very top of it is my family altar, where I honor the ones that have gone before. And then the two shelves are my herbs that I have collected and worked with over the years. I absolutely have my favorites, because I do a lot of baneful magic. I do. It's probably half of my practice. But like my top shelf is my non-consumables, the ones that are potential, like mandrake that's poison, and there's some other things on there, um, that I work with. And then I have my standard lavender and my rose. The reason why these are in here is because I was working on a new set of rooms that I'm creating. But all of my magic and my spells that I do for other people, they all come from that apothecary, and it's constantly growing and evolving. I've ran out of space for jars. It's definitely something that takes a while to accumulate, and I'm ridiculous. Nobody needs this big of a jar of lavender, but I do.
It
I'm just
might.
ridiculous. I'm ridiculous that way. Most people have like the little 2-ounce jars, and that's efficient. But me, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
so this is something else that you and I have even discussed, but you guys, they can't stress this enough with your herbs. Labeling for your jars. And then if you're gonna have ones that first of all, then know what you have. So labels,
yes,
know what you have. If you are buying herbs to consume, that you are going to eat, drink, whatever, they need to come from a different place than the herbs that you're using just in spell work, or on your altar, anything else like that. They need to, like, don't buy the ones that you're eating from Amazon, okay? They need to come
you're
from different places. There's some
yeah.
reputable places. And then also storage. So like here, you guys can see back here, I keep my ones that I cannot eat. Like even if
Mhm.
the label fell off, I know that like it's up here, so like I can't put it in my
Yes.
body. So just take care of yourselves.
Yeah. I actually, my consumables, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like I get mine from Monterey Bay or Mountain Rose,
Mountain Rose. Yep, that was the
because
one.
I know I can make any teas or tinctures. If I do wildcraft like elderberries here in Florida, they just grow rampant. I
Okay.
consume those myself, but I wouldn't any. Yeah, I actually don't give out my tinctures or syrups to other people, just because you just never know who's going to be allergic to what.
Yeah.
But yes, you definitely should keep your consumables on one side and your nons on the other.
Yes. Yeah. And if you are
Nobody
sourcing
taught
your
me that. I
own,
just do that, instinctively.
yeah. And if you guys, if you're sourcing your own, so like if you're out in nature in the wild, like getting your own herbs, and again, make sure that like check and double check, or take someone with you that that knows what they are, so that you are just staying safe. I think I've what else was I gonna say about that? Oh gosh. But yeah.
And when I do wildcraft, um, it's an experience for me. Um, and it's not always about gathering. It is about connecting and giving back. One of the absolute first things that I do when I go wildcrafting is I have a bag for trash. I'm picking up trash as I go along, and I just let spirit take over.
My green heart is like melting. Like, yes. The green witch in me. Yes. Yes. Honor the earth, you guys. Yeah.
Mhm.
But give and take, especially from nature, is always really leave something, an offering before you take from somewhere. The same with graveyard dirt. Like, just
Yes,
be
yes. And
respectful.
bank dirt and asylum dirt and all that. But yes, I mean, because honestly, um, when I'm out in nature, it's a zone. It's that space between here and there.
Oh,
And
light bulb. Sorry to interrupt you, but I gotta ask before it goes away. So what I was struggling back there with, I wanted to ask you because I'm just really interested for myself, where you have so many witches in your family and your daughters are also witches, how are your guys' practices the same and how do you guys practice differently?
oh, all seven adult females are absolutely different.
Are they?
Um, Absolutely different. Um, I'm traditional Norse pagan. Uh, Stormy is, Christo pagan. Well, she's gonna get mad about that. But anyway, Tori, my youngest daughter, she honors Nyx, the goddess Nyx, which totally fascinates me. Um, my cousins, one is a druid, and my other cousin Heather, who is also a traditional witch, but our paths are completely different, and
Okay.
none of us practice the same. None of
That's
it.
really beautiful. And see, this is the thing, is that there's something for everyone and that it's going to look different, and it doesn't mean you're doing it, better than anyone else. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. And even within the same family, their practices don't look the same, and
No,
but they're all supported and empowered by their craft, and that's just chef's kiss. That's beautiful.
like a Raven who lives in Illinois. She has a glass curio cabinet about the size of my apothecary, and it has nothing but skulls and bones. And that's part of her practice.
Yeah, dead
I
things. Who
love it.
doesn't love dead things?
Love it. But I mean, my bones are smaller, but she has like full on cat skeletons and bat skeletons, and they're just gorgeous, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So
that's really beautiful how everything, it's so unique, and that's amazing. I have another question that I'm going to ask you. Maybe um tell me and everybody else, maybe I'm not the only person that doesn't know, but what's Florida water?
Florida water, believe it or not, the kind that you can purchase, okay, the kind that you can purchase is actually a cologne.
Okay, so is it a just a Florida tourist thing? Is it a Florida witch thing? Is it not a thing? Is it a joke? I can't
No,
tell with the stuff that comes out of Florida. I can't tell, like with the Florida news, I can't tell. And I've
no,
never been brave enough to ask anybody. I've never asked this question. I've never admitted that I don't know what Florida water is, but that's the truth.
okay. Florida water, okay. Um, have you ever heard the term toilet water? Toilet water was a cheap perfume, because back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, everyday folks, we could not afford cologne. So there came out a toilet water. Well, there was a gentleman here that invented Florida water, and it was the upscale version of toilet water. And in the 40s, it became very, very popular. And it was the cologne that most Black people purchased. And then it was,
I'm Black and I don't know about this.
yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And yeah, so it was also, then it was introduced as protection, the moms, the grandmothers, after the children were bathed, They would put the Florida water on their hand and they would rub their heads and their face. Yeah. And it was to protect them at night they went to bed.
And
Went to
so,
sleep.
so when I see this
It is a
online,
cultural, believe it or not, Florida water is a POC cultural item. Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna have to do my research.
Now, what people make is a different formula, but the original source, it was a cologne. It was a cheaper version of cologne that was made, and it really became popular in the 40s.
So what you're buying in stores is a cologne. So what are you making now when people are like, oh, I did a protection spell and I used Florida water. I don't know why I did this because people are actually doing protection work. So take that back. But I'm just because I don't know what I'm referring to.
Yeah. So what people are making as Florida water, that's fine. You're going to find so many different recipes, but it's a floor wash. It's a floor wash. You can put it in a spray bottle. You can put it on a rag. It's a protection water. That's all it is.
Okay.
But the traditional Florida water that you can buy in a bottle that still has the same formula, the same label, it's a piece of our history. It's the Florida and Black history, and it's something you don't hear a lot about.
I'm definitely gonna have to do some research. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't mean anything that I don't know about it, but yeah, that's really crazy.
You have a bottle?
Huh?
You have a bottle of Florida water?
No, good. No, I've never even seen one. No.
Tori, if you hold on, I'll go get it, and I'll send you one. Hold on.
That's so funny.
Hold on. This is the traditional Florida water.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you.
So, I mean, and you can bless anything. You could bless any liquid and use it for a protection. I don't necessarily know it's like a cleaner, but all of that makes more sense to me. That's very, very interesting. That's too funny. Thank you for letting me ask you that question. Yeah. So you guys, there you go. Don't ever be embarrassed to ask. Like, just ask. And if you don't get an answer, ask someone else. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you're embarrassed to ask a question, send it to me and I'll ask somebody for you. Okay. So is there anything else that you wanted to share with everybody before we go today?
Never be afraid. Practice. It does not have to be expensive. Dirt is a great way to start your magical practice. Dirt feeds you, it protects you. Sticks and twigs and plants. Just get out there and follow what feels right to you and your spirit.
That is so beautiful. All right. Thank you so much for your time today. You guys, I will put all of Bree's information from the Oracle Witch Society group down below, her Etsy shop, everything where you can connect, the TikTok. Yeah, you're much better at TikTok than I am. I'm just getting started, but I'll put all that back down below. Thank you so much for your time. And you guys will see you back for another trial of Witch Hunt. Bye.
Bye.